Hello and welcome to the first episode of TJ NBA, a podcast hosted by myself, Tim Cook, about all things basketball. This is the first episode and it marks the beginning of a new series where I'm going to break down the timeline of an NBA franchise from its last relevant time to its current state and looking toward the future. Today's team is the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have gone through a lot of different roster changes, and they've been a team that has a lot of different identities. This is marked by the grit and grind era, which peaked in 2013 when the team made the Western Conference Finals. The grit and grind teams were really defined by not one player, but more of a team mentality, and everyone coming together, every player doing what they're supposed to do. Guys like Conley, Marc Gasol, Tony Allen, each of those guys had a role to play, and they really, did their thing perfectly, whatever they were supposed to do. There was no one star on the team. Everybody played together. And the city they really represented the city well. Very Memphis style of play. Grit, grind, defense first, and just wear teams out by doing that. So one of the reasons the grit and grind team was so special is because they were a contender every year. And we might make the playoffs as an 8 seed, but we could take down a number 1 seed. We took down the Spurs in 2011, which was a big surprise, but we were always a threat no matter who you matched the Grizzlies up against. And this is because of the style of play we had. We're defense first, focusing on pressuring the ball, forcing bad passes, getting steals, deflections, guys like Tony Allen and Zach Randolph being those first guys on the defensive end. This was definitely the highlight of Memphis basketball up to this point. The grit and grind era is what you think of when you think of the Grizzlies. That's if you Google Grizzlies, grit and grind is going to be what you see most of the time. But what's really exciting about this team is that we're now building toward the future, and that started. I think the beginning of the new generation of Grizzlies started with the end of grit and grind, which I think was trading Marc Gasol. I think that was the official end. When we traded Marc Gasol to the Raptors, he went on to help them win a championship and got a ring. And what we got back in Jonas Valanciunas, who is also a really important piece of our new team and the next generation. And then we traded Mike Conley to the Utah Jazz, getting back guys like Grayson Allen, Jay Crowder. Those were important pieces of the rebuild, and still are. And what we got back for them when we traded Jay Crowder again to get Justice Winslow, who will potentially be a big part of the new team. So what the new team is Grizzlies next generation, and our rebuild was really sped up by the fact that we got the number 2 pick in the draft. We didn't really expect to do that, so we got the opportunity to draft Ja Morant, and he's been a very special player, for sure the rookie of the year if the season had continued. And our style of play has really changed from, the grit and grind defense first, grind it out, force teams to make bad passes, etc. Where we're now a very exciting team to watch. It used to be we would win games, but it's on defense first. Now we win games really with our offense, and we have a lot of different ways to do that. A lot of lineups that the Grizzlies play, it's really interesting where all 5 players can dunk and can catch a lob. If you have a lineup of if you have Jaren out there, Ja out there, Jonas, Clark, and then if you want to put in another piece, DeAnthony Melton, Grayson Allen, or another guy, those are 5 guys who can dunk. And then you have those passers, so you have guys throwing lobs to Ja and Ja throwing lobs. It's just really interesting how that works, where everybody can score in that way. And we've also led the NBA this season in points in the paint, which is an important category to do when teams a lot of times have more success when they're focused on doing one thing well. And we're good at a lot of things, but we're very good at getting points in the paint and having guys who are physical and who can score when we need to. So yeah, the current state of our team, we're currently in the 8th seed. We're about a 500 team, which is partially due to like a bad start in the season. Since then, we've gotten a lot more exciting, been a lot better. And so like at our current state, we have a high ceiling, but our current state is, around an 8 seed, 7 seed, maybe making the playoffs, maybe missing the playoffs, depending on, other teams who are fighting for that 8th spot if the season had continued. But what's more important, I think, as a Grizzlies fan is our future. And our future is very bright because John Morant, what he's been able to do and what he's been really good at, we can build on that. And you can develop other skills along with that. But to have a guy come in and be already to do something like this, and to be as good as he's been, he can improve things like shooting. But to be as good a passer and athletic as he is and being a leader while still being a rookie. And then you have guys like Jaren, and we've seen this year how Jaren's three-point shooting has developed and also how well these guys have worked with veterans. Solomon Hill and Jay Crowder. Solomon Hill was the last roster spot. He impressed team officials, and that's how he made the team. He wouldn't have even been on the team. Jay Crowder was an important threat from, three, an important guy Ja could pass to. He also had some games where he would throw lobs to Ja. But they fit in really well with those guys. So I think that shows, like, Ja and Jaren being able to play with these veterans and making them better, and just fitting with different things. So I think that's really promising to see, like, they've already fit in well with stuff. So, like, I think the possibilities are endless with different things you can do with this team. So yeah, kind of a look at the future, and then what do we need to do to get there? I think to get there, we need to just continue doing what we're doing. We already have the coach. Taylor Jenkins has been fantastic. As you look into his story and where he came from, it's really impressive that he's an NBA coach, and he's done a great job. And I think him and the rest of the coaching staff and trainers and everybody just keep doing what we're doing. Keep guys like Ja and Jaren and Clark as a part of the team, see what works with them. And yeah, I think our future is very bright.